Hey guys, welcome to another episode of LJ's Garage, and behind me is a 2006 Mitsubishi Evo, and this one is the Evo 9 as they call it on the streets. So let's take a look and find out what exactly Mitsubishi means when they throw a street legal race car our way. So who better to tell you guys about the Evo 9 other than the Evo 9 owner himself. So here's my buddy Jake.
All right, so this is my 2006 Evo 9 SSL. The way you can tell it's an Evo 9 is it's got the Evo 9 front bumper. A lot of Evo 8s like to put the Evo 9 front bumper on their car, but this one comes stock with the front bumper. It's got a bigger turbo than the Evo 8s. This car only came out in 2006. If you didn't get in 2006, then you're pretty much out of luck.
So Jake told me that he's got this Evo, and of course, being a Subaru guy, I had to take him up on that offer. Yes, I've bailed on buying Evos in the past, but I still have a little spot in me that decides, hey, maybe I do want an Evo one day. So let me show you guys around the Evo. I'm gonna take it for a drive, and maybe at the end of this video, I'll decide I'm a Evo guy and not a Subaru guy, who knows, but maybe Jake will change my mind. So starting with the looks of the Evo, I've gotta say I'm a huge fan. It's a little boy racer, but it's grown on me, and it'll continue to grow on me because there's an inner boy racer inside of me forever. So instead of acting like an expert on the Evo, Jake and I are gonna tag team this Evo. I can tell you all the pretty things, and he's gonna tell you some of the finer details on this specific one. So I'm gonna hand this off to Jake, and we'll show you guys all around the Evo.
So on my Evo 9, I'm running 18-inch Evo 10 GSR wheels. I prefer these wheels. I like the shorter spokes. They come on the Evo 10s. I'm running Brembos that are just freshly rebuilt. I have slotted rotors. I got stop tech pads. The wheels wrapped in a Toyo Esperanza HP2 tire with it's a 245. I like this tire because I drive it every day. It's good for performance and it's good for year-round driving.
Fun fact for you guys, the reason why they changed this front bumper and you have these little oval vents is actually to feed right into the intercooler. So it makes it so you're actually able to cool this down, and that's the most important part of having a turbo car, right? So I won't bore you guys with the science behind what these vortex generators are, but on the Evo 9s, you get these stock, but these right here are carbon fiber. But normally all they are is for aerodynamics and downforce and all of that good stuff. So again, I won't bore you with the science. If you really want, you can go Google that and find the research on it and fall asleep and do what you do.
So in the back of the Evo 9, we have a fiberglass wing. It comes OEM with the carbon fiber. It's really cool. It breaks a lot of neck at car meets. Everybody thinks it's wrapped or it's fake. It's real. It comes OEM on the car. Right here, I have a JDM bumper that I put on. My old OEM bumper got a little messed up from the previous owner, so I just threw a JDM bumper. Wasn't too expensive, wasn't too hard to put on. Just had to do some cutting for the tow hook. Right here, I have a STM stainless steel catback exhaust. STM is where I get all my stainless steel and manufacturing parts. This is how it sounds.
The best thing about an Evo or a WRX, whatever four-door sedan you find that tickles your fancy, is that it's practical. You can live with it every day. You can throw your family back in there, kids, dogs, whatever you may have. Check out this back trunk, and you can see what I mean by practical. So you can live out of this thing. Under the hood, stock, you get a 2-liter 4-cylinder, and it's a inline 4, makes 286 horsepower, 289 foot-pounds of torque. As you may have noticed, under this hood, it's not entirely stock, but it's no full-blown race car. So I'm gonna let Jake talk about some little bit of the finer details on his specific Evo, and then I get to drive it.
So I have a HKS cooler intake, and then I have a Mishimoto intercooler. I have a bunch of cool air piping. I have a HKS blow-up valve, makes the turbo spew really, really loud. People like to say it sneezes. I have a Fat House Fab fabrications bracket because I relocated my battery to the trunk for room. And there's a cop pulling up behind us. Now that the cop is done rudely interrupting our car review, we have a rebuilt 5-speed Shepherd transmission. It's a low ring. They did it. It was really quick. They got it back to me really, as soon as possible. I love it. The, 5th gear on the highway, I can still blast by cars. It's not really the best in the city, but I mean, just commuting around, getting groceries and doing what I have to do, it works for me.
So is the Myvec basically like VTEC, bro?
Oh yeah, dog, for sure.
All right.
For sure.
Continuing with the Evo is practical. Here I am in the back seat, plenty of leg room, and I'm pretty sure that there could be like 2 car seats back here, a big old 80-pound dog, all sorts of different things in this back seat. So it is a smaller sedan, but it's very practical. So okay.
Go ahead.
So it isn't an Evo if it doesn't have Recaro seats, just because that's what I'm used to. So As always, here's the Recaro seats. They're very comfortable, but if you're a very wide set person, you're gonna have a little bit of a hard time in here. Otherwise, they hold you just right once you're in those corners, and I got to throw this thing around and man, it held me just right. I always think of the Evo as you're paying for the performance. That's what you're buying. First and foremost, performance. So as far as the interior goes, there isn't a whole lot to talk about because it wants you to focus on the driving experience. You've got audio, climate control, the end. There's no other buttons. There's nothing else for you to really be messing with. And there really is no need for it. So I kind of like the way the Evo's set up. The cool thing with the Evo is also it's very customizable. So the aftermarket is vast. And these little boost gauges are just an example of the different features and things that you can add to an Evo to make it yours. So you've got your oil temp, you've got your boost gauge, you've got your air fuel ratio gauge. So you can do whatever you want with the Evo. So I want to point out one last button, and that's your ACD, your active center differential. And what that does is if you look right here, you've got tarmac, gravel, and snow. And that allows for a little bit of a delay between your differential. So it allows you to basically drift, you know, get great traction, whatever you need. So it's what makes the Evo such a great handling machine. With all the different sensors, it can figure out exactly what situation it needs to adjust to, and the steering wheel input and traction and all of those fancy things that I couldn't really explain. But in a nutshell, that's what it does, and that's why the Evo is such a great handling machine. This specific Evo 9 right here has a really cool thing. It's called the SSL, and that stands for Sun, Sound, Leather. And what that means is that you get a crazy sunroof, which is not that crazy, and you get a surround sound system, that's the sound, and then of course leather. So there's that. So having been in the Evo for like 30 minutes, it's a blast, and it's just an animal, and it's alive, and it's raw, and just the all-wheel drive just grips. And the blow-off valve just whistles, and I kind of like that. Good taste.
Thank you.
It's hard to drive and talk. This thing's just fun. Most of the Evos that I've driven, they do have really heavy clutches. This one's extra heavy, and according to you, you said you've done some modifications. So what did you do to the transmission?
So the transmission's rebuilt by Shepherd Transmission. It's got a low ring in it. The clutch is a stage 2 competition clutch. I did it just to hold more power, just so you just grab that gear and you can just go. I wanted to make this car boogie. I wanted to make it, you know, really get into it, you know.
So can I boogie? Can I go?
Boogie?
All right, I'm going. No, I'm not. Okay, now I'm going. Now I'm going. We're gonna edit that out, right? Coming from the WRX, because I'm always gonna talk about the WRX, it's got my heart. But this Evo is great in the corners, it handles well, the brakes are solid, and I don't know why you'd ever do anything to change the stock setup. So why would you change the stock setup on one of these?
Pretty much change the stock setup just to just get a little bit more flair. The stock was it was a little too high up for me. I wanted to lower it a little bit. The BC coilers that sits on aren't that high. You know, it's not slammed, but I call it track stands. It's not too low. It works for me. I don't scrape anywhere. I just wanted to give it that little bit of just flair, just a little bit of look to it, you know?
I've always thought that you should have more gears because it's always better, but you were telling me earlier that people prefer the 5s versus the 6-speeds in these. Why is that?
Mostly I think it's just because the 5s, they're just stronger transmissions. They're better for holding power. The 6, you just have too much gear, you have too much play. You know, the 5, it just get to the point, pick up the power, pick up the speed, and then you're good to go.
I think that I really could live with an Evo, but I just have that constant itch and urge to want to turn this into some sort of 600 horsepower plus supercar killer, and I just don't know if I could ever get past that. So how do you find that balance, or is there a balance, or do you just decide that you're gonna build it and go crazy? Like what's your thoughts on that?
So to me, there's definitely a balance when it comes to building an Evo. There's the ones that get super crazy horsepower where you're breaking, you know, your parts all the time and it's always in the shop. There's the ones like this where it's reliable to be a daily driver. Yes, stuff's gonna break. It is an Evo, but it still gets me from A to B. Gas mileage is a little, that's my only real complaint about it, but it's a fun car. I'm happy to drive. I never get in my car to go to work or to go to the grocery store or go hang out with friends. I'm never like, wow, I have to drive this thing. I'm always excited. I'm always ready, you know, to drive. drive, and I was excited to pretty much blast around the streets.
So I know in the city this is supposed to get like 17 miles per gallon, and then highway somewhere in like the 23-ishes. So is that true, or are they just making up numbers? Because this doesn't seem like the most fuel efficient 4-cylinder.
So when it comes to gas mileage with an Evo, there's two ways it can go. You can either granny shift, or you can launch this thing around town. If you granny shift, you're looking at about once to twice a week going to get gas. If you launch this thing around, that's every 3 days you're going to the tank.
Yeah, if your brakes don't like me right now, they're gonna hate me even more.
Oh Jesus. Oh. Holy shit.
Yeah, take it easy.
We should get some clips blasting through here.
Thank you guys for checking out yet another episode of LJ's Garage. And if you have any questions about this Evo 9 right here, look down below and follow Supjake right here on Instagram and hit him up about any questions, concerns, or whatever you need to know. But be sure to hit that like, comment, and subscribe button and let me know what you think of the Evo 9.